Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We would start session 5, which is on technology and innovation in precious metals industry. To chair the session, please welcome Mr. Naylor, Chair, Public Affairs Committee, SBMA. Joining him are Ms. Anoushka Rayner, Paxos, Mr. Steve Randall, Kallanish Index Services, and Mr. JingKai Peng, HydraX PT Limited. Please give the speaker and the chair a round of applause as they come on stage. Before I hand over the session to the session chair, a small introduction or a brief introduction about each of them. Mr. Naylor joined the World Gold Council in 2016. He's a part of the Central Banks and Public Policy team and leads the Council's Islamic Finance Initiative. The Islamic Finance Initiative was the catalyst for the launch of the AAOFI Sharia standards on gold developed in collaboration with the World Gold Council and opens up the gold market to the 2 trillion Islamic finance sector. Prior to his role, Andrew worked for international consultancy firm Siserico Group, advising financial institutions on foreign investment and trade policy in Asia and global regulatory reform agenda. In this role, he provided economic and political commentary for global broadcasters including BBC, Bloomberg, CNBC, China Central Network, TV network. Ms. Anoushka Rayner, Head of Growth Commodities at Paxos. She is experienced in global sales and has a demonstrated history of working in the financial services industry. Skilled in e-commerce, retail, sales, forex, options, and customer relationship management. She's a strong sales professional with a master's in business administration focused on entrepreneurial studies from University of Plymouth. Steve Randall is the director of Kallanish Index Services, a subsidiary of Kallanish Commodities, focused on developing price indices and related industry decision-making data. KAS recently began compiling gold reference prices endorsed by the SBMA for kilobar premiums in Singapore and other major gold trading locations in Asia. Stephen has been involved in the metal sector for over 30 years, where his experience has spanned strategy consulting, senior management roles in multinational companies, and entrepreneurship ventures. His role includes Director of Content as S&P Global Plat, now it's called Commodity Insights, with responsibility for all metal pricing and reporting globally, founding and leading the Steel Index, TSI, from 2006 to 16, Director of Corporate Strategy at Chorus, and conducting a wide range of assignment as an independent consultant for leading metal and mining and financial companies. Our last speaker for the session, Mr. JingKai Peng, HydraX Private Limited. Peng JingKai is the Senior Vice President at HydraX, which offers comprehensive digital marketing technology and digital market services for tokenization, distribution, trading, and custody of all digital assets. HydraX is a regulated financial institution in Singapore, licensed by the Monetary Authority of Singapore to deal and custodize digital assets. Prior to joining HydraX, JingKai was formerly the Head of Commodities Asia at Commerce Bank AG. With his introduction, I hand over the session to the session chair, Mr. Naylor, Public Affairs Committee, SBMA. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vatsa, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations for making it this far in the conference. I have to say it's been an excellent conference. You can probably tell from my voice that I've over-networked over the last couple of days, so I'll do my best to survive the hour. We've got a great panel discussion for you on innovation in the precious metals markets. Innovation, it's an incredibly broad topic. It's something that's very, very close to the World Gold Council's heart. We have been involved in a series of what we hope are major market innovations over the last decades, and we're firmly of the belief that digitalization really underpins a lot of what we do now in the gold market when it comes to ESG, when it comes to accessibility to gold, bringing gold to new investors around the world, overcoming investment barriers. Underpinning all of this is leveraging digital technologies. And so to discuss some of these issues and others, we've got three great panelists. We're going to start with a series of presentations, and then we'll go into a Q&A. So if I could invite Anoushka to kick things off.
Working? Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for attending today. So, as I said, I'm Anoushka Rayner, representing Paxos, established in 2012. We are a regulated trust custodian, a regulated infrastructure provider, and also a regulated token issuer. We look at how blockchain can help improve market infrastructure, and today we're going to look at how we can unlock the value of gold. So I'm going to focus on the retail market, and the reason why I'm looking at that, we do cater for both institutional and retail, but I'm focusing on the retail market because the infrastructure's already been adopted, and I feel like that's the near-term value where this industry can really get some benefit. So Paxos is on a mission to redefine financial market infrastructure. We want to enable the movement of assets in a trustworthy way, instantaneously, any asset, any time. We believe additional value in gold can be unlocked through tokenization and using blockchain technology. And we have the leading gold token, PaxG. It's a regulated gold token. It represents 1 fine ounce of LBMA good delivery gold. And each token has a serial number related to the underlying gold bar. So it's 100% backed. Them reserves are in vault while that token is in issuance. So I just want to have a different look on the market. So we look at different ways of how we create distribution, how we create growth. Today, there are 6.92 billion smartphone users. And the reason why I bring that up is that the smartphone in less than 20 years has replaced the camera. It's become our information point at our fingertips and fast becoming our bank branch and access to financial markets. Also, importantly for us, we look at the unbanked. So 1.4 billion adults are unbanked. Why are they unbanked? No access to financial infrastructure, or have a lack of trust in local government or the infrastructure that is available to them. Paxos believes blockchain, tokenization of real-world assets, such as gold, will unlock, in a trustworthy way, the ability to give access to billions to invest and create wealth for themselves. So just looking at the infrastructure and as it evolves, it's obviously in its infancy compared to traditional banking, but currently there are over 450 million wallets on blockchain. Wallets are no more than a personal account, digital vault, and blockchain can be viewed as a secure, trustworthy database. I put some regional stats up there. You can see Asia quite far in front there with 260 million. So wallets, what are they? We get asked this quite often, so I thought I'd put a definition on here. So they're multi-asset by nature. I can hold stable coins, crypto, gold in a single wallet, and eventually any other real-world asset that gets tokenized and put on blockchain. So I've moved from different areas, different providers to hold my assets into one single wallet that I own and possess in my smartphone. So what can blockchain technology, wallet innovation, combined with regulation, an important point we'll get to later, but regulation help to grow our market? So accessibility, smartphone, valid ID, KYC, I can open a wallet. I now have access to financial markets. We currently service multiple countries, and real examples are we have Brazilian investor holding gold, LBMA good delivery gold, direct ownership of that gold bar, whilst he's in Brazil, alongside his US dollars in the same wallet. He's done that instantly. He's got ownership on it instantly after trading, probably not having that instant access and ownership any other way. And then we have trust. Really central to Paxos and what we do. We do partner with regulators. We play a big part in that, and we embrace it. We adhere to bank-like oversight, rules and operations, and all customer assets are fully segregated and independently audited on a monthly basis. When our investors hold Paxos issued tokens, they own the underlying. That underlying is there in vault, ready for redemption 24/7 when they need it. And then finally, convenience. I can now own allocated gold instantly 24/7, no longer limited to traditional banking hours. It really does open up the market for billions of retail investors that we probably wouldn't have been able to reach before so easily, so quickly. So everyone in this room should really benefit from this innovation and how we're trying to move the market. So with that, thank you for your time. I look forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Anoushka. And it's clear that innovation is certainly transforming how the end user can access the gold market. And I thought your last slide about accessibility and trust resonated. We run a consumer research program, and in pretty much all of the markets where we survey end users, consumers of gold, the two barriers that always come up, one is trust and the other is accessibility. And that's one of the reasons why the World Gold Council will be doing a lot to try and promote the digitalization of the market, because that can increase accessibility, but then it can also, combined with that, we also need to think about how do we address trust issues, not just in the asset class, but also the institutions that are involved in the gold market ecosystem. We're going to take on a bit of a journey. So we've heard about the end use case that can benefit from innovations, but we're now going to move a bit upstream and talk about some of the market infrastructure that can underpin the gold market and some of the innovations that we're seeing there. To explore some of those issues, I'd like to invite JingKai to present.
Good morning, everyone. I will panic presenting Stephen's slides, so I got to get it right. My name is JingKai from HydraX. Whilst I think most of you will not have heard of HydraX before, we are active in the precious metal space. We provide a trading platform. But in truth, you wouldn't have heard that much of us in the precious metal space simply because it forms a very small part of our entire business. So, but personally, I've been a commodities bloke all my life, working in banks. So I am very intertwined with precious metals especially, and the rest of commodities. Now, to give a very broad introduction of HydraX, we are a Singapore-based company offering asset-agnostic, regulatory compliant financial infrastructure for the financial markets. Our clients primarily includes banks as well as various regulated players in the looking to participate in the digital asset space. Of note, our clients obviously included Naylor as well in the provision of the precious metals trading platform as part of the multi-asset platform that we currently support. The company was founded in 2018, so we are relatively young. We have about 70 blokes and girls all over the world, but primarily based in Singapore. We have been working hard in the past few years, so thankfully we are beginning to get some market recognition with a couple of awards that we have won recently. Now, what is the objective of HydraX? We recognize at the start of this digital asset revolution that there is a gap in this market. And it is transformative enough for me to leave banking and join HydraX back then. And where is this gap? The gap it presents itself in two folds. Firstly, it presents itself as new financial instruments available in the market, not just cryptocurrencies, but also previously unmonetizable, or less easily monetizable and traded forms like art, wine, so on and so forth. Now, apart from the introduction of new asset classes, the other way that it is transforming the industry is also in fundamentally the way traditional financial services are being conducted. Take for a simple example, if you were to do trade financing, you will have a couple of guys in the middle office checking bill of lading, checking statements and stuff before you would release it. Now, the nature of blockchain is such that it allows the opportunity for such verification and such trustless and immutable records to be placed in a place where everyone can see it, transparent. And it thus reduces the amount of lead time that you have in clearing payments. Now, that's just a simple example. Of course, the equivalent in the precious metal space will be tracking of the gold supply chain, as an example. And I believe there are quite a few companies who are already out there doing that. So, where is this gap? The gap is really in a space where the traditional financial institutions struggle with adopting the technology, because in truth, blockchain is a brand new technology, and it's not so straightforward, in part also because the regulators are not 100% clear on how do we regulate this. Now, in the absence of clear regulations, it makes it very difficult for financial institutions to go full on ahead and say, okay, let's change all our existing processes such that it utilizes the benefits of blockchain. But slowly and surely, we are seeing regulations become clearer, and we're glad today we are in Singapore, because I think this is one of the foremost countries in terms of regulatory clarity on digital assets. So, for the regulations to catch up, for the traditional guys to adopt blockchain technology, and this is where HydraX comes in. Primarily, our background is from traditional financial institutions, so we do understand how traditional financial institutions work. Now, if you think about the traditional asset life cycle, you will go through how does an asset get from being untraded to something that is being on the market and traded and has associated value to it. Firstly, you go through the securitization of the asset, ring-fencing of this ownership, such that whoever owns the shares or whoever owns the SPV or the equivalent enjoys the economic benefits that comes with this ownership. Second, there's a primary issuance stage. Before these shares are actually traded anywhere, it has to go to somebody, issued to somebody. And then there's a very big part of secondary trading. I mean, it's not fair to just put everything under secondary trading, because within secondary trading, you have various steps. You have order management system. How does an order gets to a trading platform? How does a trading platform, or how does an exchange, for example, clear and matches financial instruments, so on and so forth. And once the trading is done, we move on to custody and settlement. Now, in each of these stage in the life cycle, there is a blockchain equivalent, and HydraX provides both the technology as well as the services to perform each part of this function. So from tokenization, which is the tokenization and book building, which is the equivalent of securitization and primary issuance, to provision of exchange solutions, including order management systems, including various market modes of exchange platforms, and as well as a regulated custody infrastructure, regulated in Singapore. Yeah. Now, apart from that provision of technology, of course, you can utilize us for the license that we hold, or we can find some way of partnership as well, potentially, to utilize this license in order to make the best benefit of the opportunity that we today have. Now, I'll touch briefly on the technology side and the services side. I don't want to take up too much time. This is a complicated slide, but basically what it's trying to say that is in each stage of the life cycle, we actually have modular sub-functions that you can take part by part. So today, for example, you might have a tokenization engine, the ability to create security tokens, but perhaps not the secondary trading infrastructure to go along with it. So that's not an issue. We can provide each of these parts on a standalone basis. If you're looking at the secondary market trading, you might be looking at, for example, a construct of an exchange through a central limit order book model, which is traditionally how most exchanges match. But there are also other matching available through. So a clock model is basically an end-to-end model where multiple members can match with multiple members. If you go one level down, you have the one-to-many, which is the price streaming model, which, for example, most brokerages would have some kind of platform where they have multiple clients and they're all trading to the same person. And then lastly, you have the OTC model, which is essentially one-to-one. Now, all these we support through the same platform. So regardless of which model that you're adopting, that's not an issue for us. Now, again, another rather busy slide. We are built for flexibility. Now, everything that you see here, firstly, we cater for multiple market models, which I've already briefly touched on. And then we also cater for multiple asset classes, including traditional finance instruments, for example, equities, debts, derivatives, so on and so forth. Interestingly, also alternative asset classes, including tokenized carbon credits, tokenized real estate, so on and so forth. And of course, very close to everyone's heart, commodities, including precious metals and digital tokens. Now, you will notice that in the general space, blockchain often equates to crypto, but in reality, our company is focused on the technology rather than cryptocurrencies. So in truth, it forms a very small part of what HydraX does. And lastly, we have multiple implementation models, whether you are looking at a centralized or decentralized model, whether you are looking to conduct trades on-chain or off-chain, and everything is done on a single platform. Now, even more briefly, I'll touch on two of the licenses. We have others, but two of the licenses that we hold. The first one is a CMS dealing license with MAS that allows the issuance of security tokens in order for your underlying asset to be traded in the as a security, effectively, more or less. The whole life cycle from tokenization to wallet management to custody, as well as asset servicing in terms of corporate actions, we are able to cater for that. And then the other part, which I think is quite important, is the regulated digital custody. This is a CMS custody license from MAS. It allows us to hold the, and there's only a handful of companies who are licensed to offer, well, at least by MAS, who are licensed to offer security tokens custody. And they have to go through quite stringent checks by the MAS with regards to the underlying technology, because essentially it's quite different. Securitizing tokens is a bit different from securitizing shares and bonds, where you go through the traditional lawyers and security agents, so on and so forth. We do actually have to go through a rather stringent technological check to make sure that when we say it's technologically secure, it actually is. So there are various modes. I won't go into details. We offer both multi-sig hot core wallet structures as well as MPCs. Now, and because this is a APPMC, I'll run a couple of slides on the precious metals trading solutions. We do have a standalone precious metals trading solution where we provide the digitalization of precious metals to be traded. Now, it can be tokenized. It can also just purely be electronic without necessarily creating a token. That's not an issue. So this is like a plug-on top of the base infrastructure that we support. And the usual trading windows that you expect to find of any trading platform are there. I won't go through it one by one, but we do support both the front-end modules as well as the back-end modules that you would think necessary for your transactions. Now, with that, I conclude. I promise to keep it short, and I'll hand it over to Stephen.
Thanks, JingKai. So we've heard how digitalization is transforming end-user access to the gold market, and also how digitalization is transforming how market participants trade and the underlying market infrastructure that underpins the industry. But it's also bringing about greater transparency and data granularity. And to talk about some of the opportunities of this, we have Stephen Randall. So could I invite you to speak?
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. And thank you very much to Albert and the SBMA for the invitation to participate in this panel. And congratulations to everybody here for your stamina while some of your colleagues have clearly wilted after such a vigorous conference. But it's good to see so many people in the room. Okay. Kallanish Index Services may not be familiar to you. Probably not a household name yet, but that we expect and are aiming to change. It's a subsidiary of Kallanish Commodities, an established business in the metals sector that's been providing news and running events and so on for, I think, around 12 years now. Kallanish Index Services specializes in providing the data and pricing services around that. So we are completely impartial. I think it's important to say this. We're not involved in any way in the production or in the trading of commodities. we live and die by providing information, by providing price information. That's what we do, and associated data around that. So in technical terms and in concept, it's not complicated what we do. Not perhaps quite as complicated as some of the technical issues behind my fellow speakers today. What we do is work closely with market participants involved in the physical market, involved in the buying and selling of the relevant commodities, in this case, gold kilobars, and develop the pricing information they need for their business to help them, to help with their business success. And we've obviously heard a recurring theme at this conference about the benefits of helping to build trust and adding transparency in order to help achieve that. And that's certainly something that from other commodities I've worked in, where I've helped develop indices and pricing, that transparency has indeed led to the growth of those markets. The efficiencies increase and more participants become involved, and value for everyone involved increases. So why are we here today? Well, we are here today because we are launching our gold reference prices for Asia. The discussion started a while ago with the SBMA, whose members recognized the potential benefits of compiling reference prices which reflected the premiums for, or discounts indeed, for gold kilobar trading in Asia over spot that could be available to the market during the daytime while they're trading, not having to wait till the end of the day for prices to come from London or other parts of the world. So I'm going to concentrate on what we're offering. There's more material available, obviously, around the conference, and we'll be more than happy to answer questions and be discussion later. But essentially, we are about responding to that increasing need for transparency and all the benefits it can bring. What prices are we compiling? Well, these are wholesale investor price premiums, as I say, to the London spot. We're covering, this is physical gold bullion. So we're covering two products, the freshly minted kilobar, virgin kilobar, sometimes referred to, and the recirculated bar, obviously separate pricing for each. And at the moment, we are doing this for 3 locations in Asia: Loco Singapore, Loco Hong Kong, Loco Bangkok. Now, we collect the bid and the ask premiums or discounts from those market participants active in these markets during the morning. And these we call our data providers. These are a pre-approved group. If you're active in these markets, you can apply to become a data provider. And if you do so, you actually then receive our services for free. But these companies, essentially via secure systems, any channel that suits them, will provide us, submit where they are seeing the bid and ask prices today in these relevant markets. And we then publish, well, we process that data, again, transparent. We have transparency in our systems that the data that any data provider, any market participant provides to us, completely confidential. That doesn't get revealed to anybody else. We process that data. Any outliers, anything unusual, we investigate, we follow up, and we then assess whether that is reflective of today's market and whether it is included in what is effectively the average that we then publish for where that market is today. So we publish that price between 12 noon and 1 o'clock. We will probably settle on a firm time, maybe 12:30 Singapore time this is, and that price goes out to everybody at the same time. There's nobody gets first sight of this. It's a price that has to be available to everybody at the same time. And we've talked about, the benefits this can bring, and no doubt we'll come back to that in the discussion. At KISS, in terms of the technology we're using, well, if you subscribe to our service, our gold service, you have access to the gold price platform on the website, secure links, and there you can view the latest price and indeed the historic pricing and how the prices have moved. You can, this is just a snapshot of how a screen might look. You can compare up to 4 different prices side by side. This is showing a couple of prices. You can switch between selected currencies you would like to view it in, different units, whether it be grams or troy ounces and so on. And it shows also, it's the midpoint and the bid and ask price ranges there. You can export this data into Excel. You can look at any time periods you'd like. You can look at weekly averages, monthly averages, and so on. If you're a data provider, and again, it's too small to see here, but we'll be happy to give you a demonstration. It'll also show you your prices that you submitted. Only you get to see these through your secure login, but it'll put onto the charts and into the tables where your prices are, so you can analyze those relative to what the reference prices are showing for the day. The prices also come to you via email, so you get an email directly into your inbox. There's an example with the prices there for quick reference on your mobile phone and so on. And this is accompanied by a 6-page report, which is then packed with a lot of other data as well and information, including the prices, but a lot of sort of supporting market information around other key metrics for the day's trading and the background, whether it's prices in other parts of the world, whether it's COMEX, whether it's stock levels, and so on and so forth. So, if you're looking for some impartial daily information on kilobar price premiums, then you're in the right place. You can click on this QR code, you can visit our website, callindex.com, and we're going to offer a free trial service to everybody here, and you can see whether it provides some interesting, useful information for you. The subscription typically will be costing $999 per annum as we launch this, but there's a free trial available. I mean, that's only something like $4 a day or something. So hopefully you'll find the value that this brings way exceeds that. But sign up, have a free trial, see if this service will bring some additional information to help you with your decision making, with your buying and selling in the market, or your analysis of the market. A lot of our customers also reside in the analyst financial community as well. If you're an active market participant, buying and selling physical gold, bullion, kilobars in these companies, then apply to us if you'd like to become a data provider, and your data will then be included in our considerations of where the average prices lie. That's about where I'm going to end. If you'd like to learn more, there's more on that website, callindex.com, or please speak to me, my colleague. I'm based in London, I'm here visiting here, I'm here frequently, or my colleague Guan Hoke, who is based here in Singapore, and we'll be more than happy to answer further questions about what we do. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Stephen. We've got about 20 so minutes left, so we're going to move to a Q&A session. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to take the liberty to ask the first couple of questions before opening it up to the floor. Anoushka, if I may start with you. Turning to a regulatory theme, why is it important for gold tokens to be regulated?
So Paxos always believes regulation first. We tend to go towards the market asking for permission rather than forgiveness. Why should a token issuer be regulated? You have to protect the investor. So having regulation in place when you're a token issuer is key. So let me just go over some the process of getting our token issued. So not only are we a regulated infrastructure provider, but to get a token regulated, there's an application process. You have to list what you're doing, the operational process, the oversight you have over them assets. you get that approved. And then on an annual basis, we are audited by the regulators to make sure we're adhering to the processes that we have on that application and that has been approved. And then on a monthly basis, we have an audit of the stores of gold the reserves of gold that we have back in our tokens. So each token is issued with a serial number, and we have independent auditors work directly with our vaults to get a bar list. They then reconcile that bar list with what we have and the tokens that are in issuance. So every month we're proving that full reserves, 100% backed, our token that is 100% backed, that gold is in storage, waiting, ready for redemption 24/7. And I think you only get that oversight and that certainty with regulation, being regulated.
Continuing the regulatory theme, JingKai, Singapore is often held up as the gold standard when it comes to balancing effective regulation and innovation. Is there anything in particular about Singapore's regulatory regime that has helped you develop HydraX?
Sorry, the last part of the question was?
Is there anything about Singapore's regulatory regime in particular that has helped you develop your business?
Yeah, so I think in terms of blockchain regulation, Singapore is at the forefront. And it's to credit to MAS. It is not an easy, it's not easy to regulate because of the deep tech nature of it. Now, I think the first and foremost is the mindset. I think Singapore has very clear determination to make itself a hub, a regulatory hub as well of the digital assets. So the intent is there. And however, it takes time to learn how far regulation can go. How do I implement? How do I check that your technology, your blockchain technology, is as it says? So there's always a bit of trial and error. Now, in terms of its position, given that it is the hub, it is at the forefront of a regulatory. So you have, apart from the CMS licenses that I mentioned, you also have initiatives under the Payment Services Act to directly deal with crypto in a licensed and regulated manner. That's pretty rare. And so apart from being at the regulatory hub, if Singapore wants to also take the opportunity to make itself the gold hub, I think the intention has always been there, then a combination of the correct digital assets regulation, where it is, I wouldn't say conservative, where it is sound, but yet not restrained, not too overly restrictive. And a combination of that with the combination of the various up and coming precious metals, physical vaults, as well as service providers, I think there is a very good chance that Singapore can establish itself as the first, as the front runner of a digital precious metals hub. So maybe currently it's probably behind London in terms of paper gold trading. Is behind definitely Switzerland for physical gold, but for digital gold, I think there's a very good chance that it can very well be the first in the world.
Thanks, JingKai. Stephen, turning to the reference price, why is it important for the market to have a reference price during Asian hours?
Thank you, Andrew. Well, reference price is part of this transparency. I think traditionally the market has perhaps felt, some players in the market certainly feel, that a lack of transparency actually helps their business. It's how they like to work with different customers, different prices, and so on. But in today's world, as we've heard throughout this conference, there is the increasing challenge of building trust, and regulations also are moving towards recognizing that more transparency actually helps that trust issue, helps address the trust deficit that I've heard mentioned from time to time. And it can also help the companies themselves, as I've seen when I've worked in providing reference prices into other industries. Companies actually find that having a reference price give them an indication of where the market is currently moving today, where the average is, gives people an opportunity to be more confident, do more business, and conclude those transactions faster. So that brings efficiency and typically actually helps to grow markets. So I think it's sometimes a little bit of a journey people go on to understand the benefits of having that transparent reference pricing. But certainly in other commodities, the benefits have been clear, and it's been very clear from the discussions we've had with the SBMA members that in this area as well, a lot of companies here see the benefits. And there's obviously another key ingredient here in that a lot of gold trading is now in Asia. And pricing, the LBMA sets the price, the AM and PM numbers, these are still underpinning the market, but the Asian market it does not have access to a reference price to see what's going on today during our trading hours. And this reference price can actually give the players in this Asia-Pacific region an indication of where the market is. And again, that brings confidence to trade, get the business done.
Thanks, Stephen. I'd like to open it up to the floor now. Bit of housekeeping. If you do want to ask a question, if you could please just state your name and organisation. There are some roving mics. So any questions from the floor? No? While you're thinking of your questions, perhaps I'll ask a couple more. Anoushka, there are quite a lot of gold tokens out there. I mean, PaxG is probably the most well-known and one of the most advanced. What does the market need to consider when they're thinking about bringing a new token to the market?
Well, like previously mentioned, regulation to uphold that trust and integrity in the market. We need to make sure these tokens are regulated. Not all the tokens are. But also further fragmentation. If we're tokenizing the same underlying asset, you've got to think of the bigger picture, the end game. We're going to end up with small pools of liquidity where an investor then tries to execute a trade and gets a different price because of the liquidity so thin. That's not an experience we want our investors to have, especially when you look at retail. So I don't think we've quite got the answer yet. I know the industry and a few of the bodies are working on it. I'm sure it's a topic for World Gold Council, LBMA, SBMA. But what we do as a token issuer is we would lay on top of that. But we do need to think about it. I think 50% of getting the right solution is knowing what you don't want at the end of it, what we don't want as a solution. And I'm still struggling with seeing the benefit to the end investor of having multiple tokens, purely down to branding, on the same underlying asset. So there's still some work to be had. We don't have the answers, but we do need to, I think everyone who's getting involved in the tokenization space needs to consider that.
Thank you. And Stephen, what are the key ingredients needed for creating a reference price for gold?
Thank you. There are many ingredients needed, I think, for a successful reference price, at least. First and foremost, the price has to reflect the way that business is done in the market today. It has to, we're engaging with the market participants, and the reference price that we compile has to be something they recognize. It has to be something that, yes, I understand what that price is. There are a few ingredients to achieving that. The specification has to be clear. We have to know what this price is for. And then we need to be collecting data from as many of these market participants as possible to ensure that we're getting a rounded view to reflect what's going on in the market. So I think those are a couple of ingredients. On our side, our process has to be transparent. People have to be confident what we're doing, confident that there's no risk of manipulation of this price. That when I say transparent, that again does not mean that we have to reveal the data that's being submitted by individual companies. It means that the process we follow as to what we do with that data has to be clear, the methodology. That's a key ingredient. And then ensuring that we have the ability and the understanding to be averaging apples with apples. So I think there's a whole range of ingredients that go into making a successful reference price. And yeah, I've touched on some of the key ones there.
Thank you. Final call for any questions from the floor. No? Okay. Perhaps just a couple more questions then before we wrap it up. JingKai, I mean, I think it's fair to say you're fairly new to the gold market, but you've had a lot of experience in finance and the broader digitalization of market infrastructure. Do you have any observations about the gold market and why you think the gold market should deploy your technology and solution and the benefits that would bring?
Thank you. So, short correction, I haven't been that new to the gold market. I was here 10 years ago when we were talking about, let's say, the Singapore reference price, 2013, I think. But I've been around. I've been in commodities since 2005. I've been in gold market in Asia specifically since 2009. Now, the question on why gold should be digitalized, I guess, on a very high level. Is firstly, I think many of you here would also know that there are parallels drawn between precious metals and selected digital assets. I mean, the most obvious would probably be Bitcoin, where it is not influenced by specific countries' monetary policies, number one. Number two, it is infinite in supply, even though it is almost technically impossible to mine every single last ounce of gold, the way it is technically almost impossible to mine the very last Bitcoin for economic reasons. So given that the similarities between precious metals and selected blockchain digital assets, it is a very natural way for precious metals to move towards a stage where it can actually utilize the benefits of digital assets. So what are some of the benefits, for example, of digitalizing precious metals, right? The first and foremost, the most obvious use case would be instant settlement, for example. So, if you could transact and settle tokens instantly, rather than wait for T+2 settlement, rather than wait for your physical gold to be actually delivered to you. But many a times, people forget that in order for your gold tokens to be transferred to you directly, it also requires for the fiat or the USD, the fiat side, to be transferred instantly as well. And that's where it's currently being hemmed back a little, because we don't yet actually have a well-recognized stable coin, and of course CBDC is a work in progress, central bank digital currency, is work in progress. But as long as we have a well-recognized stable coin, such that you could put the transaction, the settlement of the stable coin, for example, USD token, as well as the gold token on the smart contract, then you sidestep the trust issue. There's no longer a need for you to trust your counterparty, because you know that when I transact gold tokens against USD tokens on the smart contract, my tokens will not be transferred to the other party unless I receive the USD. And it happens instantly. So for that is actually a very powerful driver and a powerful reason for precious metals to then be adopted into the greater digital assets space. And it's not standalone, it cannot be a standalone. Precious metals have its own digital assets, rule book and workflow, so on and so forth. Because there are, as we speak, many initiatives to tokenize traditional assets, be it bonds, be it equities, non-traditional assets, be it wine, be it art pieces, in a form that once it's tokenized, it's traded the same way, it settles the same way. So in essence, not only gold or precious metals must make itself blockchain enabled, but it must also be part of the greater move in the industry to digitalize all asset classes. All is pushing it. Traditional asset classes first, and then the alternative asset classes later.
Thanks, JingKai. There's a few newcomers to the room, so I will open it up for a third time lucky call for questions. Any questions from the floor? No? Okay, last question before we wrap it up. Stephen, how has digitalization enabled you to develop a solution when it comes to a reference price?
Thank you, Andrew. Well, I'm glad we've clearly addressed everything that anyone could need to know. So, as far as digitalization for us, it's crucial that we're able to process, to capture, store and process the data that we receive in a secure way. As you gather, our system is internet-based effectively, the browser interface for the market participants to share their data with us, to make it as easy as possible via their phone, via their computer and so on, and to be able to distribute then the reference prices back. So essentially, without the ability to do that in real time in a confidential, secure environment, I don't think we'd be able to provide such a valuable service. I mean, in theory, reference pricing could be compiled sort of longhand, but I don't think you'd have the confidence and security that comes around the ability to do it in the digital environment. So I think that's essentially the underpinning thing. I should also point out the reference prices, as KL Yap, the chairman, said in his welcome yesterday. I mean, this is the first step. We'll only move further if the market finds this useful, gets the benefits from the digital solution that we're providing. But if we do want to then develop it further for the market towards something around these premiums that might be tradable, then again, obviously digitalization is essential for any sort of tradable environment.
Thank you, Steve, and we'll wrap it up now. Thanks to our panelists for the discussion. Thank you also for joining this session, and to Albert Cheng and the SBMA for convening us here at the APPMC. So thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Naylor, for finishing it well before time. Thank you very much. And may I request all the speakers of this panel to pose for a group photograph, please. Yeah. That was indeed a very interesting session on technology and innovation. We thank all the speakers, Mr. Stephen Randall from Kallanish Index Services, Ms. Anoushka Rayner from Paxos, and Mr. JingKai Peng from HydraX. And special thanks to our moderator, Mr. Andrew Naylor, Chair Public Affairs Committee, SBMA, for a wonderful job. Thank you very much, despite being not so well. Thank you. Take care.